So RELL just revealed what I literally waited years for. And if you're a super OG of the channel, you might know what that is, because I've talked about it a lot and talked about how big of an aspect it is in the game for me, and that's boss fights. And it was honestly really surprising to get it right now, since we're literally 15 days from movie 2, so you would think they would just wait to movie 2. If I had to guess, I'm sure we'll still see some in movie 2, maybe some better ones or more advanced or cooler looking ones. But we also got some more good news besides boss fights, which are full gameplay clips in the actual game, which is kind of surprising when we're this close to movie 2. They could have just waited. So I'm surprised, I'm not gonna lie, but that don't mean I'm complaining. I'm happy. Now they did show us R6 bosses, which are just normal Roblox player bosses, and some mesh bosses, so let's actually go over it. So here's the first boss they showed us, which is a R6 boss. Now it looks like this boss is actually gonna be at the RELL bar. I'm not sure if that's 100% confirmed, and that's just for testing, but regardless, there definitely is a good chance, because they also talked more about the RELL bar later, but I'll go over that in a second. As you can see, it looks like all bosses will have an HP bar at the top with a little contribute thing, which I assume is the amount of damage you've done to it. It's probably percentage based if I had to guess, meaning I'm assuming it would say like 5 if you did 5% of the boss's health. Now in some games they'll actually show multiple people, so you can see if your friend has done a certain percentage, which I actually personally like. It does clutter the screen a little bit, so that might be why they didn't do it, but I will say it is kind of cool to see your friend's percentage, see if you did more than him, and it basically makes boss fights a little more competitive in my opinion, because you could directly see if you're doing more damage than other people that are fighting it with you. And if you want to be Mr. Nice Guy, you can also look at it and make sure everybody hits the percentage threshold to make sure everybody gets credit. And if they did do this to deal with the whole clutter issue of having a lot of names on the screen, they could simply make it closable and scrollable, meaning you could scroll down a list of names of other people fighting the boss if there's a lot of people fighting it, and at the same time you could just close it all together. Not really a big deal though, just something I thought I would mention. But as you can see, the RELL brothers was getting whooped by this boss, so it does look pretty crazy. But what you might notice is a lot of the moves it uses are physical. I think it only used physical moves, and if you're a real Roblox anime cheeser, you would know that you can cheese bosses like that very easily. If the boss has no range moves, you could usually just go somewhere with elevation or some place where they can't hit you, or spam Geppo. But they did actually show how they're gonna prevent this in the game. So basically, if you try to stay in the air and cheese the boss that way, it's gonna hit you with the WWE wrestling sumo TP move of death. Now in the clip they showed it when you're spamming Geppo, and in the description they said by staying in air. But I would also assume, or at least make the guess, that this also would happen if you go to a spot where the boss can't hit you. So like if I'm on top of a mountain and the boss can't hit me for some reason, but I can still hit it, I would assume it would TP and do the same move to me. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that would just make sense in my opinion. But we'll just have to wait and see. Now I also forgot to mention the other reason there's a contribute bar is most likely because you have to do a certain amount of contribution to the boss to actually qualify to get its drops. They didn't say that directly, but that's usually why you have a contribution meter. It's basically so if you were fighting a boss with me, I can't do 99% of the boss and you do 1% of the boss, and you can also get the drop. We don't know what the exact number will be, but it'd probably be like 5% of the boss or 10% of the boss, so you still have to do a decent amount of contribution to actually qualify to get credit for it. Now like I said earlier, they also did give us more information on the RELL bar itself. They gave us some screenshots and said bar fights is a thing, don't bother with these root beer drunken NPCs, you can't have alcohol on Roblox, so it has to be root beer. Also ignore the dialogue, and we are not ignoring the dialogue. Let me show y'all some of this. In this first screenshot we can see what a lot of y'all have been requesting: racism. I've seen so many comments being like, we need some racism, it's realistic to One Piece, and they brought it in here. I don't like you type of people. What do you mean by that? What type of people? Now I don't want to imagine what he would have said if he was a fish man, or if he was a don't even get me started off he was a mink. And you would probably think after he says, you know, I don't like you type of people, he gonna chill, because they wouldn't, you know what I'm saying, it wouldn't be crazy. But then they put a screenshot of talking about, you're walking on thin ice, pal. Why am I walking on thin ice? Just because you don't like my type of people? Now in that screenshot you could also see it says accept or ignore, so I'm assuming if you accept, you probably accept the bar fight, which is pretty cool. I would also hope if you like accidentally hit them, they'd start boxing you. I know that might be a little annoying, but I do think it would be cool for immersion, and it would actually make sense. I mean, if I randomly hit someone and they want bar fights to be a thing, that's definitely how I would personally think which should be implemented as well. But I would assume if I bump into some random drunk person, they're gonna be weak. But in this clip, there was low-key boxing, because they sent RELL Sin or RELL Bad, I think it's RELL Sin, flying. Now in the first boss clip, you guys probably seen that it came from the RELL bar, so I'm not sure if that boss is actually gonna be connected to the RELL bar. We'll just have to wait and see about that. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was the ultimate root beer drunken NPC, the ultimate. And hey, if you mess with him, that's where you get the crazy boss fight drunken NPC. But before before I go over the next news, I do want to let you guys know that you're probably not subscribed. I know you might think you're subscribed, but most people watching this video aren't, and it does a lot for the channel if you do subscribe. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when you become a YouTuber, they don't tell you like, oh, what are you supposed to say to actually get people to subscribe? So I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know if I need to twerk, make a OnlyFans, you know what I'm saying, sell feet pics to get people to subscribe. I'm not sure, but I'm just letting y'all know it does a lot for the channel. I'd appreciate it. But the next thing we gotta go over is RELL Submarine plus Mesh Boss preview, and then I believe there's also another clip that's a Submarine clip. I skimmed through these very briefly, but I didn't watch them because I actually wanted to do a reaction for the video. The videos are pretty short, but I was thinking, hey, why not? So let's actually see if they're cooking. Okay, so it looks like they're gonna do the Submarine first. On top of the Submarine, in this Submarine, I won't lie, the interior looking tough. They did say ship interiors are going to be customizable, so I'm assuming Submarine interiors are also going to be customizable. Also, I do want to mention that I don't know, like, you guys think this is going to replace your ship, or it's going to be like a separate ship you can get? I'm really not sure how this is going to work exactly. Nah, this is tough, I won't lie. Imagine seeing a fish actually pop up in this. Okay, here's the boss. Oh, hell nah. Why he walking on 2 legs? That's a lion gang. I'm not gonna lie, they didn't really show much about the Mesh Boss. I'll replay that one more time because it was kind of hard to see if I missed anything. Okay, he does some type of AoE, like range attack right there. And then I think, what was that, like hockey? That little, you see that little backstep? I don't know if that was hockey. He was hitting the emote real quick. Or it's a counter maybe. But yeah, we got to see more about this boss. I'm really not sure. They didn't show close to as much than the R6. Now they gave us another clip of the interior of the Submarine. So let's look at this real quick. Looks tough. Like I said earlier. Blank face. Am I tripping? He got no face? Hold on, my fault. Yeah, he got no face. Oh no, he got no eyes. He has a smile. No, this is going to be so tough with your homies though. Imagine y'all all being down here under the water. That's gonna be lit. I see the vision. Am I Nah, that's a one shark. I think that's a default shark. That's not one of the sea beasts. That's just a default shark. I don't want to imagine what the big sea beasts look like. I'm pretty sure that's just a default shark, and that looks pretty scary. Or not anything too crazy. I'm not gonna drag it, but it looks pretty cool. Oh my god, I just see this clip. They said, oh my god, I think that's the same shark. It's just close. That's actually tough. I don't know if that's actually like a real screenshot or they just put the model there, but either way, I'm assuming that would happen in real game to somebody, and that would be crazy. Now they also put this. Imagine a big ass megalodon just ramming you with no warning and breaking the glass. Okay, the reason I'm kind of confused is because they put this, which means, is the glass actually breakable? That would be crazy. But if the glass breaks, you're cooked. You're actually fried. I'm sorry, because the water gonna invade your ship. If you don't have a bubble or you a fish, man, especially if you got a fruit, you're cooked. But I need to see more on that. But I'm sure some of y'all might have noticed I am a little late to this news, and there is a reason for that. And if you haven't noticed, it's also the reason my upload schedule has been a bit cooked recently. And that's because I've been focusing on my own project in game, which is a multi-anime open world RPG Roblox game. And now I'm making this game with my friends Dream Chaser and Volo, and I'm not gonna lie, we've been making a lot of good progress recently. And if you guys are interested in working for the project, we're looking for a lot of new devs, and we're looking for all types of high quality devs, but especially animators. So if you are a high quality dev, make sure to join my Discord and DM me, or put it in the dev work channel with some of your work. Now I also want to go over some of your guys' hot takes, because I actually seen some really interesting hot takes and really interesting suggestions. And if it isn't obvious, if you don't want to miss the community post next time, just make sure to subscribe button so YouTube will promote it to you. The first person said, not sure if this is a hot take, but they should add devil fruit specific interactions such as gum being resistant to lightning. And I do agree with this to an extent. And now I do understand it would be cool to have gum straight up resist lightning, because that's how it works in the anime, but that's really just not completely practical. Imagine if you queue for rank 1v1s and you have a Goro build and you run into someone with gum and you're a main fruit user, you don't really use weapons that much, you're completely cooked. But at the same time, I do still think it would be cool to have devil fruit versus devil fruit interaction. So for example, I still think it could be resistant to it, but just not completely. So it could maybe have like a 10 or 20% damage reduction on lightning moves, but not anything that would actually make lightning useless. Now I'm sure some people are definitely going to be like, I don't care, it should resist it completely, but I'm just being actually realistic with what would actually make sense gameplay wise. Like, I'll give you an example. Imagine when Gear 5 comes out on RELL, that will be on one of the updates they said. So imagine that update when Gear 5 comes out and hella people, pretty much everybody that has a gum is gonna eat it. Bro, Goro would be so trash if it completely resists Goro. No nobody is running it at all. You'd be forced to switch because you'd be running into so many gum users and your fruit is completely useless. And now I might be a little biased because I do think Goro is one of the coolest fruits and I don't want it to be useless, but at the same time I also just think it's the best, most realistic way it could work. And now remember what I was telling you guys about earlier where everybody asked for racism in RELL Cs, and I wasn't lying. Look at this suggestion. We need RELL racism, like Deepoken, because it definitely is something that is very important in this show. I'm telling you, where these people found out that there actually might be racism in RELL Cs with those clips I was showing you guys earlier, hey, I'm telling you, their neighbors thought it was 4th of July. They were tweaking, talking about, wasn't 4th of July last week? Why is everybody shooting fireworks and getting hella excited? But like I said earlier, y'all got some good news because it's looking like we might get some racism in RELL Cs. The next hot take said you should be able to modify your ship, like having coup de burst on it or having custom weapons on the ship, and they also said maybe potential weapons that you need a fruit for, like the light fruit, for example. And then they said a second part, which I do think is a really cool idea as well, is have an option to have smaller ships on bigger ships to traverse to certain areas. And if you guys don't know what he means by that, he's kind of saying like the Titanic, you know, it had like the lifeboats on it. Basically you have like a lifeboat on a big ship so you can actually go into smaller areas with those lifeboats. Or maybe if your ship actually gets sunk, you could hop in the smaller boat. I can actually see that becoming a problem and being annoying, so I do understand if they didn't add it because of that. But either way, I do think the second part is a cool idea. Now the first part with custom weapons and stuff, they're giving a lot of customization options on the ship, so I would not be surprised if this is already a thing. In the RELL Cs movie, which is 8 months old, so in 8 months they probably added a lot more customization since then, and it already had a lot. Now in terms of having certain weapons that only work with certain devil fruits, I do think this is probably a stretch to get on release. Now I wouldn't be surprised if you could maybe like infuse your fruit with the cannon, maybe like shoot like light cannonballs instead of the normal cannonballs. I feel like something like that might be a bit more realistic, but even if it's not, I could definitely see something like that coming on an update or already being in the plans currently. But I just did a random number generator and I got 469, so can we get 469 likes on this video? I'd appreciate it, and I appreciate y'all for hitting the subscribe button as well. Thank y'all, love y'all, later.